Hey everybody, welcome to Do You Believe on Paranormal Zone TV. I want to thank you all so much for being here tonight and coming back to the show. And for those who may be new to the show, if you would please subscribe, I'd appreciate it. And please don't forget to give the show a like. Now tonight I'm so excited to have Drew Beeson back on the show. Drew is an author and a true crime investigator into some of America's most fascinating unsolved cases. He has a YouTube channel that please go over there and subscribe. It's an awesome channel. He has fabulous videos on true crime and especially the Zodiac, which is my favorite topic. And there's his channel. YouTube channel is Drew Beeson. Now tonight, one of the topics is Drew's book that he wrote. It's about 14 pages. It's a short story. It can be found on Amazon, and I have the link underneath this video. It's called Asleep in Hell, and I want to tell you guys. Now, Drew will be talking about his story, but you have to read it as well. When you are reading that story, you can't stop reading it. I thought it was going to be a big book, and I think I read it in 15 minutes. It was crazy. What he went through, I've never in my life heard a story like Drew was going to tell you tonight. But if you go, please go over to Amazon. It's on Kindle. It's automatic on cloud, and you can read it right away. It's really fabulous. So tonight, this is one of our topics, his haunted bed and the James Dean's 1955 Porsche Spyder. All right, so let's bring Drew on. Hey, Drew, thanks so much for being here with me tonight and telling the viewers your story. You want to start telling them?
Sure, absolutely. So this story, it's a true story. That's the first book I published, and of course it's paranormal. I love all things paranormal, so having this experience was a no-brainer to try to actually make this into a story and publish it so I could share it. And this happened in 1991. It was about a bed that my cousin actually owned. He got it it actually belonged to our great-grandfather who died in 1974. And when they were clearing out his belongings, my mother and his mother, who were sisters, went there to the nursing home where he was. It was a little place in East Texas called Dieball. We used to call it Eyeball as kids. And one of the things that they removed from his place where he lived at the nursing home was his old bed. It was an old iron bed. And I don't know how long he had it, but I think when he died, he was in his 90s. So I think he had this bed since his 20s or so. So it was rather old. And so his mother wound up with that. My mom had some of the things, and then my cousin winds up getting the bed from his mother when he winds up moving in with me when we were going to college together in Houston. And he would go home for the summers when we were going to college together, and he left me there with his cat. I don't know why he didn't take his cat home. So one evening, it was a weekend, I was really tired. I was going to go to sleep in my bedroom, and I noticed that his cat had used the bathroom in my bed. So I was just not happy about that at all. So I just said, well, I'm just going to go over there and sleep in his bed because I didn't feel like dealing with cleaning it up and all that that night. And so I went into his bedroom where this old bed was that he inherited from our great grandfather, and it was really high mattress. He had like this green comforter over it. The bed had actually been painted this kind of lime green color because he didn't like it. It looked too antique to him, so he painted it this lime green color. So it was this kind of odd looking antique bed. So anyway, I remember I just laid down on my back on this bed. I didn't even get under the comforter, and I just immediately fell asleep. It was really weird because it usually takes me a while to wind down. And sometime right after I fell asleep, I just was in this it felt like I was in a different world, like I'd been transported somewhere. It was like a very extremely lucid dream, and I could hear the voices coming out of all these different directions, and they sounded like they were being tortured. It was screaming and some moans and something like that, and I felt like I was falling backwards. and then all of a sudden I felt like I landed in this old wooden chair, and there's a figure sitting in front of me, and it was all kind of blurry, and then it started like slowly coming into focus, kind of like being, at the eye doctor when they turn those things around, and it gets better and better as they're testing your eyes, and the focus becomes really clear. And I noticed it was a friend of mine named George who had been killed in an auto accident about a year before this happened. And it was just so vivid. I was like, I couldn't believe I was looking at him, and I was a total awareness about me. I knew that I was in some kind of a dream state, and I knew that I knew the events. It felt like everything was kind of in real time in a way, and I couldn't believe I was looking at him, and I was like, hey, don't you understand that you died? And he looked at me like really confused, and he didn't seem to understand that he had died. And he goes, he's just kind of shaking his head like, no, I don't really understand you, but how you been? Why don't we go do something? I'm like, you can't, you're dead. You can't go do anything. And what I started to believe was, and I felt that we were in purgatory. And I'm a Protestant, and I never really believed in the concept of purgatory, but he was a Roman Catholic and a pretty religious guy. And I just had this feeling that I was in purgatory, and he was in this, like in a waiting, in a holding pattern, so to speak. And he was just waiting to get out of there, but he didn't seem to realize that he was there. And I said, you must be in this place. I don't think it's heaven or hell. It's like purgatory. And he was just kind of like, what are we going to do about it? I was like, I don't know. I'm going to have to figure this out. And it was really weird. And he goes, well, don't leave me. Don't leave me here. And then all of a sudden he started getting blurry again. And then I felt like I was falling again. And it was just so vivid and real. And then I could hear these screams of people, and I was literally descending into what felt like to me was hell. And I could see faces, and they were going along this big long line of people, and then there was women, children. I didn't really recognize anybody I knew, but they looked like real people, and they were real downtrodden. And I would look at some of the faces, and they would turn to me, and they would turn like into demons. And and then some would just melt away, and they were all like walking in this circular pattern, like they were going down lower and lower. And I remember I had this feeling of just like there was a total absence of God. It was like total despair. Everything was there was no hope. There was just nothing but sorrow. And I could just the screams were just coming louder and louder and louder. And all of a sudden I woke up. I mean, something woke me up. I think the cat jumped on the bed or something woke me up, and I was just pouring sweat. I don't sweat much at all. And it was the most vivid thing that ever happened. I was just like, wow, there's something going on here with this bed. And because I never had dreams like that. I'd had some fairly lucid dreams, but nothing like what had just happened to me. And I was just kind of shaking it off, and I had my friend on my mind. He'd only been dead for about a year, and it was just so real. And I was thinking about him, like, is he really stuck there? Like, is there really a place called purgatory? And I wasn't sure, but I was starting to believe that there was. So a few more days went by, and I just my cousin was out of town for a few weeks, and just something wanted me to go try it again, I guess, at this bed. And it almost felt like it had this tractor beam. It would just pull me into it, wanting to see if I could get back to where I was and try to see him again in whatever this portal was in this bed. And I can't remember what, it was a few days later after that first incident. So went back in the bed and immediately fell asleep. Just like, it was just so fast, and that was just so odd to me. It was comfortable, but it was just something that would surround you. And then all of a sudden I'm asleep again. And I had that same sensation of falling that I've never had before. And then sure enough, I land back in that same place. It's purgatory, and there was my friend George. And I said, here I am again. Do you now realize that you're dead? You're in a place that I think is purgatory. I think this is something that you feel is real. So maybe I have to pray for you and get you out of here. And he's like, yes, that's what you need to do. Pray for me, and so I can move on. from this place. It was just so vivid and real. And I said, how do I know this is real and I'm not just dreaming? And he said, he goes, because he goes, I know that I can see things beyond here, even though I have not passed on to where I'm supposed to go. And he told me about a wristwatch that I lost to prove that this was real. And I had lost a really nice wristwatch I got for my birthday. And he goes, it's hidden in your couch. It's way down at the bottom or something like that. And I thought, wow, this is really weird. And it just seemed like nothing that I'd ever experienced, of course. I said, well, I'll try that. And I go, when I get out of here, I'm going to pray for you. And then hopefully you can pass on to heaven. You deserve it. You were such a good guy when you were here. Felt so bad about what happened to you. And he goes, don't worry about it. This is gonna be fine. He goes, just, say a prayer for me. And then I'll see you again, soon. And, he fades out again. And then again, I feel the falling sensation. And I can see the people, I can hear the voices, and I'm falling, and I can actually feel the heat of what I would describe as just hell. And just this horrible feeling, I can't even describe it. It's like someone just flipped off a light switch of all hope, and you feel complete despair. There's no hope of getting out. There's no hope of anything. You're there. It's eternal, and it's even more than a physical pain. It's a spiritual pain. Like you've been cut off from what you need. Like all the light of the world has just been turned off for you, and you can't get it back. You're in a place where where there's no God, there's no hope, there's no anything. It's just complete despair and eternal despair. And the people there, they seem like they're committed, and they're cast into hell. They're all going into this fire, and I knew in my mind that I was in hell, and I was being allowed through this bed to see what hell was, and because it was just nothing like I'd ever felt. It was just so strong. There was no dream that powerful, and it was always connected to that bed. I never had a dream like that in my bed or any other point in my life, and I never ever had a dream where I was talking to somebody that knew that had passed away until this bed and these incidents of sleeping in it. And I had this falling. I felt like I'm in hell, and then I felt like if I just concentrated and tried to move up, I could kind of rise above this deep, dark, eternal place I was in. And I just kept climbing higher and higher, and I was praying, please, the Lord, get me out of here. I don't know what I did or why you're showing me this, but I've got to get out of here. And then I felt like I was rising again, and then the light was coming back, and the presence of God was there again, and I was out. And then I woke up again from this. I felt like a trance almost in that bed. And I woke up, and I immediately remembered what my friend said in the dream about that watch. I went over to my couch, and sure enough, in this deep pocket, and I'd looked for this watch for 6 months, and I was just trying to find it. It was a birthday gift, and there was a deep pocket under the inside where the cushion was, and sure enough, my watch was in there.
Wow.
And I was just convinced that I was actually speaking to him in the afterworld, and then I prayed for him to get out of this place, purgatory. He was stuck in between heaven and hell and trying to move on to heaven. And I sat and had I prayed for him, please, God, get him out. He's a good guy or whatever. And it felt like he was released. And sure enough, it never happened again where I had a dream about him. And it was really weird. And I was listening to Coast to Coast AM one night, and they had a Catholic priest on talking about the purgatory, and he described what it was, how people were there and getting him out and all this stuff. And it was exactly what happened with my friend. And I couldn't believe it. And and I was all tied to this bed. It was some kind of portal into the spiritual realm, and it never happened again. And I didn't tell my cousin about it. I just didn't. I didn't say, your bed's haunted. I didn't want him thinking I'm crazy or something. And he later moved. I mean, he came back for another year, and we lived together. And he moved to Los Angeles for a long time. And he called me one night from Los Angeles, and he was doing some acting down there. He was in a lot of commercials and stuff like that. And he called me, and he's like, I'm having a problem or whatever. I said, like, what? What's going on? He goes, I'm having these terrible nightmares. I'm having He saw his daughter in it, and her face would melt away. It was always like family members he would see, like were they being tortured, just these really terrible, terrible nightmares. And I said, "Do you still have that old iron bed?" And he goes, "Yes, I still have that bed." He goes, "I think it's something to do with the bed." And I had never told him about my experience. And then he's telling me about all these nightmares that had happened to him with that bed. And then we figured out together that was the leak, was that bed that he got from our great grandfather. And of course, he winds up getting rid of it. I think it was destroyed. I think he threw it out for the trash or something like that. But it was weird. And then ever since I had those dreams and would sleep in that bed. I think it happened to me like 3 or 4 times. It's just some of the things that happen when I would sleep in that bed. And it seems like some things would follow me after sleeping in that bed. There was one time I went to the mall over the weekend after one of the times that I slept in it, and I was going down an escalator, and I could feel something coming behind me like it was running. And I didn't even have time to turn around and see what it was. Like I thought, like it was a small child or something running down the escalator. And before I could even move, I felt this presence just walk right through me. Wow. And it was just really weird. I could just feel the rush of it. And it never happened again. And it happened soon after sleeping in that bed. It was like it put me into some kind of more of this mode or frequency, if you will, of the afterlife that I was being able to get transported to through that bed. And he never really described something like hell like I did, but just these really terrible nightmares that were that he never had otherwise. If he was not sleeping in that bed, he would not have those same nightmares. And he was the kind of guy that was really cool and really he wouldn't tell, even not a storyteller at all, kind of just real matter of fact kind of guy. So it was just really strange that it all connected back to that bed.
Wow. Didn't you have a go to heaven too? Didn't you see heaven?
Yes, it was kind of like just the outskirts though. It was more like coming out of there, it let like the light of God in, and then you could tell the difference when it's removed. And it's here on earth, you still have the presence of God here on earth. But when you're sent to hell, that's just turned off like a light switch. That's why it's complete despair. You can't even describe it to someone. There's really no words to describe it. That's what hell really is that it's a complete absence of God. And I've heard that described that way before from different people, and I understand it now. And it's just you can't even believe it. But once you enter back into that light, you feel the warmth and the love again. And it's remarkable, and you really can tell the difference when it's totally turned off. But yeah, I wasn't really fully immersed into heaven. It was more like just on the outskirts after being sent to the bad place. What it's like to be able to be brought back into the light. So it was really remarkable, and it's definitely true. And the part about talking to my friend, I mean, there's a footnote to that. He was killed about roughly a year before this happened with the bed in a car accident. Kind of similar to James Dean, but he was actually in a head-on crash, and he was coming home from the University of Texas where he was in his second year. He was a really smart guy, really hardworking, smart guy. He was on what they call Plan 2, like a real high academic program, and it was making good grades, had a really bright future, and was unfortunately killed when a BMW swung out of another lane and hit his car head on. He was with a friend of his, a girl who managed to survive. My friend was not killed instantly, but hours there later. Very tragic, young guy. And another friend of mine, a year later, had an auto body shop where he would repair cars that were in accidents and they were totaled. What they call blue title cars, and he would buy different cars for parts. And he was kind of in business with this other gentleman, and they had a big warehouse in kind of a rough area of Houston. It was a big 30,000 square foot warehouse, cars everywhere. Some of the equipment, body equipment, body shop stuff, and I was there one day, and there's cars everywhere, outside in the lot, and then inside the building too. And I looked around, and there was a car in the corner that was a brown Toyota Starlet. That's what my friend was driving. A little bitty car, little bitty Toyota, little brown 1980 Toyota Starlet, and it was wrecked really bad. I mean, they had some totaled cars like that they would either repair or just get the parts off of. And one thing I remembered about my friend's car when he had it, because he had it in high school too. That he had these custom wooden speakers. He built these wooden boxes around these two speakers that he put in the back of his car. And I walked up to this wrecked car in my friend's shop, and I saw a box that looked exactly like the one my friend had. I didn't remember the license plate, and I got this feeling just came over me that was his car that he was killed in. And just the odds of that landing in my other friend's shop, probably 90 miles away from where the accident happened, in places dense as Houston, Texas, is just unbelievable. Now, I never confirmed that was his car for sure, but there wasn't many of them, and it had that same style speaker box that I remembered, and I never really talked about it again. I think that was the car. I mean, I don't know what the odds are, but that car was there.
Wow.
Really creepy.
Didn't George blame you for him being killed?
No. I always thought that he might, but but he never said that. I always felt like maybe it was my fault, like maybe something I did or didn't do or didn't keep up with him enough, because we were not estranged, but we weren't as close as we used to. We were in high school because he went off to a different college than I went to, but I always felt like maybe he did, and that was just all gone after that incident with the bed. Like it had all been just gone, just resolved is the way I would put it. So it was really, really strange, but it just seemed like that was what needed to happen. We needed to talk and get him out of where he was. And what's strange is I never believed in the concept of purgatory, and that seems to be where he was.
Really? So that was just about the gist of your conversation? In your dream, did you try to talk to him about anything else?
No, I mean, he didn't really seem to have knowledge of anything else, really. He could see the other place. He knew where my watch was, but he didn't really seem to have many, any other knowledge about the future or really anything like that. But I definitely know that it was him. It wasn't, something portraying him. It was definitely him. It just felt like that was the person I knew, and he didn't seem to know a whole lot more other than starting to realize that he wasn't alive anymore, and he was in a waiting pattern.
That is so weird that he would know about the watch. Was this thing with the watch, has that always been on your mind? Would you often think about what happened to that watch?
Oh, all the time. I was desperate to find it. I didn't know. I couldn't figure out what happened to it. I mean, I thought one of my cousin's friends might have stolen it one night, and I was almost convinced that one of his friends did, and I never accused him, thank God, because obviously he didn't. It just wound up in this really bizarre spot, and he knew instinctively where it was, and maybe just knew that I was looking for it. It was a birthday gift, not from him, but somebody else, and he just seemed to, he knew about it. He had the ability to give me some proof that this was actually him I was talking to in this realm. I mean, I truly believe he was in purgatory, and that's the concept. I wasn't, I went to Catholic school as a non-Catholic, but I believe now that concept exists.
And this bed was your great-great-grandfather's. Great grandfather. And how did he get it? Did he ask to have the bed, or did they say, "Come and get this bed"? It was you inherited this bed. How did he get this bed from your great grandfather?
Well, he was still using it when he passed away in 1974. We was at a nursing home, and that was his bed, and it was his before. I guess he had it many years, because when he was put into our nursing home, that was the bed he had when he lived with my great grandmother. And that's how we got it. After he passed away, my mother and my cousin's mother went up to the nursing home to get, his belongings. And one of the items was the bed. It was the frame. There's no mattresses, but it was the frame, the headboard, the footboard, and the two connectors and these old wooden, the wooden rail slots that you would put the box spring or the mattress on, or both. And, that was just one of the items that my aunt wound up getting. and she had it in storage and wound up at some point gave it to him when he moved out of the house to go, live with me for a while, going to college, and that's when they pulled it out of a storage unit that they had after she had it for all those years, and then that's when he he didn't like it, so he painted it that lime green color, and that's when he started using it. But he never told me that he was having any trouble with that bed when we lived together. It was not until he moved out to Los Angeles where it really started getting bad, and he was having these horrific nightmares, and we were able to talk and pin it down to that bed.
Wow. So nothing
the bed went away. It never happened again.
Nothing was ever said about your great-grandfather or anyone else in the family sleeping on that bed and having those same experiences?
Never.
Really?
Never. We know it was his. We know he used it, and he was not into the occult or anything like that. He was just this old East Texas guy. We never heard any stories about him or having any experiences with it at all, and it was just one of those really crazy deals.
The mattress, was the mattress brand new that was put on the bed?
I don't know. It wasn't original to the bed or from him. I'm not sure, but it was from what I know, newer, but definitely not as old as the bed. Definitely didn't come with that bed. We think that it was definitely the energy coming out of that bed that opened up this gateway. And I've never experienced anything like that again. Nothing even close. And I've had lucid dreams, vivid dreams. Been nothing like that. Nothing where I talked to somebody that passed away. Nothing even close. I mean, I've had some stuff you could consider nightmares, but not this level of detail and the voices I could hear and just the feeling. That was the thing that really left the impression on me, was the feeling of the absence of God, light, despair. There's just not words in the English dictionary that describes that feeling. It's just such a gut-wrenching feeling in your being. Then you kind of you feel your spiritual being, because it's this world you don't really know exists till you're in it, and then when you're in it, you see how big it is. It is far. Your physical body and pain that your physical body can feel is nothing compared to what this hollowness is when you get down to that level into the light. It really does feel like you're sinking into the earth. Like you're you definitely had the sensation of falling in that bed, like you were definitely going down to hell, and then you would rise up to get back into the light, and that was the sensation that bed brought on.
Wow.
And I definitely know I was in that spiritual realm. I mean, that's just nothing ever like it. He was having the same problems. He never really described going to hell, but these horrific nightmares that maybe he was, and that's just what he explained it as for himself, was just these terrible nightmares that he was afraid to go to sleep. And it seemed to get worse after he moved out of state, but he would literally try to stay up later because he was afraid to go to sleep because these dreams were going to hit him again. And after he confided that in me, I told him about what happened with the bed, and then when he thought back about it, he realized that was the source of his nightmares, that bed, and something going on with it, some kind of weird energy, vortex, a portal that would bring you into that state, and then he got rid of it. Never happened again. I mean, it just stopped.
Okay, so he never told you, and he didn't put the connection together that it was probably the bed. Wow.
He didn't put it together. I told him that. When he confided that in me, I told him, well, this happened to me, when you went home for one summer, and this is the experience I had. And then he remembered that he always had something like that, but for some reason it got worse when he moved out of state, with these nightmares. It just kept, it was every night he would have them. And he would see people that he knew that were in this place, and distorted faces, torture, just really graphic stuff that he wouldn't even fully explain to me how bad they were, how bad these nightmares were, what was going on in them.
So when you guys got your apartment together, he brought the bed into your apartment, and that was his bed that he was sleeping on. You had no idea that he was having these nightmares. What did he have that bed before he moved into the apartment with you, or did he have it at his house?
He only had it when he moved in with me, because he he needed one. He didn't have one. I think he had one at home, but he just left it in his bedroom where he lived with his parents, and he was just looking for a second one. I guess he wanted to leave his own bed back in his bedroom at home, so he had, he knew he was going to be going home a lot. He lived about 3 hours away from where our apartment was, and he was going to be going home a lot for summers and all the stuff. He liked to go down there and visit his parents. So, they knew he needed another bed, so they went to wherever they were storing this one that belonged to my great grandfather. And they said, "Well, here's one. Use this." And then he said, "Okay, I don't really like it. I'm going to paint it this crazy lime green color, and that's going to be my bed." So that's when he first started using it. It was when he moved in with me.
Wow.
About 1991.
Yeah, I'd be interested to know from your cousin if that mattress was a used mattress.
That I don't know. I don't know about the mattress. I definitely know about the bed. I remember it like it was yesterday, how that bed was, and it was different. It had an energy about it. It had an energy about it that you could really feel, without being asleep. You could feel it just being around it. It had an energy, and I don't know, but the mattress, I don't know if all that had anything to do with it, but it was kind of built up, very soft, and it was literally like a tractor beam to make you want to lay on it. And once you did, you were just out, like a light switch just went off, and you're out, and you're immediately into this state. It had an energy about it for sure.
Holy cow! Did anything happen to you? So you slept in it several times, and then you wouldn't sleep in it anymore. Was there anything else going on after your experience with the bed? Anything else unusual happening in your life?
No, not really. There was that one feeling of what, I don't know if you'd call it a shadow person or something that went through me. That had never happened again. Just felt more like spiritually aware after sleeping in that bed. It was just more like another world had kind of opened up, and I know I had visited it, so it kind of just opened things up more. I just felt more in tune with the spiritual world, whatever you would call it. I mean, I definitely felt more in tune with it, and and people passed away. I now knew where they were going. I knew it, and if I ever saw a YouTube video or heard a story of someone talking about being in hell, and I've listened to a lot of those different stories and out-of-body experiences. My cousin actually had one of those. And I don't know if it was ever, I think it was before the bed or if he slept in it. I don't know if he had slept in it when this happened or not, but this was when he was a little younger. And, back then in Texas, when you went to the Baptist church like we did, they'd have people come by and visit you, just kind of spiritual wellness checks or something like that. And they came by his house one day, and I think this was when he was in high school, and he was like 17, and a guy came by the church. He didn't know him that well, and a guy brings in with his Bible. I just wanted to check on you guys, see how everybody's doing. And then he talked to the family for a while, and then before he left, he said, "Oh, I want everybody to come over here and say a prayer with me." And so he was there with his mom, and I don't think his dad participated. I think he was doing something else, and I think one of his sisters. And they started praying, and again, my cousin was just like, had things to do, but the guy was from the church, so he had to kind of, not act up or anything like that. So he's like, "Okay, let's just get this over." So they held hands and they prayed, and all of a sudden, my cousin leapt out of his body, and he levitated towards the ceiling, and he was looking down at everybody praying. And he just said it's the strangest thing that's ever happened to him. That's never happened to me, but it happened to him, and I totally believed him because I've known him all my life, and he's not one to tell tales or anything like that. He's very, pretty straightforward guy, and he just leapt out of his body and watched that guy finish that prayer, and then when it was finished, he went back into his body. And so I thought that was really strange. I don't know if it was anything connected to the bed or not. I just, speaking about this, my cousin, I always remembered that happened to him, where he really did have a true out-of-body experience like that. I mean, I never did, but other than that bed, but he had a real one, coming out of his body and looking down on him. So I don't know if that had anything to do with it, or maybe he was near where they started. I don't know, but I just remember that incident, and I always wondered if it was connected somehow.
What about the atmosphere in your apartment with that bed being there?
It was other than that bed, it felt pretty normal. It's just the energy around that bed in his bedroom. You could feel it when you wouldn't feel it all throughout the apartment, but when you got close to it, you could feel the energy around that bed, and it was literally calling you. It felt like a tractor being like it wanted you to lay in it. It was calling you. It was really strange. It had an energy about it that I've never seen before. It was just weird. I've never seen anything or felt anything like that.
Wow.
And it's just so strange that many, many months later, when he moves out of state and keeping that bed, that he's having these issues to where he tells me about it, which is really strange. For him to call me and say, "Man, I'm having this problem. Like, I'm having these terrible nightmares. They're so bad. I don't know what to do. Like, I can't go to the doctor for nightmares. So he's confiding in me, and he didn't tell anyone else. And we determined that it was that bed. It sure enough was. He got rid of it and never happened again.
Damn. Did the cat ever sleep on the bed?
I'm sure it did. I mean, I'm almost positive that cat did.
Really? I'm surprised. Cats are weird,
the cat could probably feel the energy, but still would get it up there.
Wow. So the cat would sleep on the bed, but did the cat act weird at all after it would sleep on that bed?
The cat always acted weird. A lot of cats do.
Well.
And it was even stranger when he wasn't there because it was his cat, so it didn't like being there with me, and I still had to feed it and everything. But yeah, that cat was not all there already, so it was hard to tell how deep into it that cat was.
Oh, so it never went nuts or anything, or like yowled or made.
Usual.
Oh, well, if you're not used to cats, sometimes you can pick up on something that isn't normal for a cat. Like a certain kind of meow or backing up, and their back end up. Did you see any of that with the cat?
Constantly.
Oh, hey, you know what? It might have been the bed, Drew, and you didn't realize it. Oh, wow, that's crazy. And you've never had any dreams like that? Never seen George again?
Never felt that feeling again, ever. Nothing. I mean, I still have dreams and nothing like that. It's not even in the ballpark, the kind of dreams I have compared to what that bed generated. It was different. It was its own realm, and there's no dream that can even come close to what this was, and the feeling you got out of it. It was just different on every level. There's just nothing even close.
It's
like him having those nightmares. It was so bad that he called me about it, which is really weird.
Wow.
Like, what? And I was like, I know what's causing that.
Oh, it's so strange that George would show up in your dream.
Yeah, especially like that. And I never really believed. I'm Protestant. I can tell I have a fundamentalist Baptist mother that's always on the lookout for any kind of evil forces, but she would just, if I brought up something like the concept of purgatory, she's like, it's something the Catholics just made up, probably, just that kind of thing, this old East Texas kind of upbringing, and but I'm telling you, it exists. He was there. I guess he believed in it, but I don't, maybe he was just, maybe he, my belief is he was taken so fast. And he had this life force about him that he just wasn't ready to pass on. I truly believe that. I truly believe that the way he was taken at a young age in a violent car accident, he wasn't ready to pass on, and that was just having to be there. It wasn't like he didn't do enough good deeds or anything like that, or didn't believe in God and to be able to pass on. It was more like he just wasn't ready because he was still bound to the earth because of. He wasn't ready. He had some kind of process had to take place in the spiritual world. But like I said, this guy was on Coast to Coast one night talking about a priest, and he got into specifics about how it all worked when people are there, and it was exactly like it played out to me.
Did you pray for George? Did you continue to pray for him?
I did. I never prayed in my life. I just said, please, dear Lord, in the name of Jesus Christ, release George into heaven. this is all I want, please, please. I mean, I was pleading, and I was on my knees, praying for George, and it was gone. It was just, I never encountered him again. It felt like he was released. It felt to me, never encountered him in a dream again.
Did you ever try to contact him?
No.
And talk to him?
No, I have something he gave me a long time ago that felt like his energy is in it. He gave me this little thing you turn upside down that has little oil drops in it. It's blue, and they kind of go down. This little kind of thing you turn upside down with water in it. I still have it. You should go grab it. I've kept that all these years. He gave that to me. Oh man, he was probably 17 years old or 16 when he gave that to me, and I'm 52, and he's my age. He was 1 month younger than me. His birthday was August 10th, 1969, and he gave me that this little thing that you turn upside down, and it's the only thing that I have from him that I still have in my possession. And it felt like to me it was like it would change my fortunes if I turned it upside down. Like if things weren't going well, I could turn it and it would do its thing and things would get better. I always had this belief about that little object.
You don't happen to have it on your...
I have it in the next room.
Go get it.
Years.
Go get it. Maybe it'll fix my computer.
I have it.
Yeah, I want to see it. I was telling Drew. I'll tell you guys when we're done with it. I contacted a psychic. I've been trying to get... Oh, wait a minute, here he comes. I'll tell you guys when we're finished with the show. Let's see.
This is it. And you can't really see it. The little bubbles in here, they're hard to see now. They used to be blue. You can still see a little of the blue dye. But when these little bubbles would do that, they would be blue. I don't know what they call these little things.
And it's just...
My daughter would call it like a fidget toy or something, but this is... You can't really tell anymore because the blue's gone. You can just see little shades of the blue going down. But he gave me this, which was really... I don't remember why, but he gave me this, and I'm terrible about keeping things, and I've never lost this.
Well, what's inside of it?
I'm kind of nervous now from turning it because something's going to change for me now that I've turned this. It has not been turned upside down probably in 3 or 4 years.
Oh my! Well, maybe things will change.
George gave me this. I think it was like my 17th birthday.
So did he?
I'm 52, so that tells you how old this is.
Okay, but you don't know what it is. It's just, so does it go?
It's like a toy. It's like a little, I don't know what you would call this thing. My daughter would call it a fidget, but that in turn didn't exist back then. But it's just one of these little things you put on your desk, and the bubbles come up and down, and you just turn it upside down, kind of like a snow globe.
Oh yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
Yeah, that's what it is. So it's a little thing you put on your desk.
Wow.
But he gave that to me, and I never lost it. I always kept it because it's like a piece of him, I guess. Just having that.
Oh.
And I always felt like if things were not going well for me, I would turn it upside down once and let it all, the water drain out or do its thing, which takes about a minute, and then things would get better.
Oh my goodness! Wow, that's crazy, Drew.
Mm-hmm.
Oh well, let me. Let me know tomorrow if anything changes.
I will. So now I don't know which way it was when I started or something. Seriously, this thing hasn't been turned upside down in 3 years.
Oh my god.
Or maybe longer. It's been. And now because I've never remembered it where the blue was totally gone. Because for the first 20 years of owning this, the little bubbles were blue, and I can barely just see little hints of the blue.
Yeah. Huh.
So it's just so old. It's so old now. It just kind of ran out. The blue part, you can see a little bit of it, but now I'm starting to freak out. I don't know which way was up. It's the same on both ends. But yeah, George gave me that for my 17th birthday.
Oh, yeah. It still is bizarre. The whole thing with the bed.
Weird.
And I'm not quite sure. I still want to know where the mattress came from if you can find out.
I'll see if he can remember or have a picture that green painted.
I was telling Drew.
Portal to hell.
Oh God, yeah. I've been airing shows since, I don't know, 2007 or 6 or something. And I've had a lot of people on, and I've never heard a story like what you're saying and what I've read. I've never heard anybody have that kind of experience before. I know there, people experience NDE, but not what you experience. And I don't even know if there's a name for it. There must be.
I don't either. It's a haunted object. I mean, it's haunted. It was a portal. But I don't know if it happens every time someone sleeps in it. I can remember every time I ever slept in it, something happened. There wasn't one time that nothing happened. I know that for sure. For him, I'm not totally sure. I think he probably did and didn't really realize it, But for me, every time I slept in it, something happened.
And no stories from your great-grandfather? Nobody ever said anything?
Never heard anything. Never heard about it being anything weird, or I don't think he was in the Freemasons doing anything crazy or anything.
Wow.
Nothing. Never heard anything. Stories down through the years of him being involved in anything weird or having dreams like that. I was 5 years old when he passed away, so I didn't really, I've got pictures of him, and with him holding me, but don't ever remember any stories being passed down about what happened to him. But it was definitely his. He owned it, had it for a long time. It was there at the nursing home in Diboll, Texas. I mean, that's a hole in nowhere. That's where he was at a nursing home, and he'd had that bed there. He was in the nursing home for, I don't remember, at least 6 years before he died. I think he was in his 90s, and don't know where it came from before that. I mean, out of some old East Texas farm somewhere.
Wow. So what I wanted to tell Drew and the viewers, I was in contact with a psychic today, and I spoke to her for about an hour. I found her accidentally on Twitter, and I asked her if she would come on the show because I explained what we do. Bottom story short, I told her we were airing a show tonight on 2 cursed objects, Drew's bed and James Dean 1955 Porsche Spyder. And she couldn't come on the show tonight because it was not enough notice for her. But she said she would come back and she would talk about Drew's bed. She said she didn't need to know, she didn't have to see a picture. She just wanted the information on the bed, where it came from and blah, blah, blah. And of course the information on the Spyder is available. I can get her that. And so we're going to bring her back. Drew's going to come back, and I want to know what happened to Drew. I want to know what caused this, and then also want to know about the curse on James Dean's car. Anyway, so Drew, that's what we're going to do, okay? I'm hoping we can get an answer for you. Okay, so let's do the next one. Okay, hold on for a second. I got to get rid of this. All right, so let's do James Dean. His cursed Porsche. Now, do you want to tell, and I can maybe fill in as well? Do you want to start that? Go ahead and start it.
James Dean, was the famous actor that was in Rebel Without a Cause. He was in a movie called Giant, and another one called East of Eden. And of course, his famous, legendary actor who came from Indiana and grew up on a farm and comes to major fame. While he's still young, he was 24 years old, and he died at age 24 on September 30th, 1955. At the time of his death, James Dean was really into auto racing and racing around, sport car races around tracks, and that's just something that he loved to do. The studio heads did not like this idea because he was a bankable star at the time, and they hated the fact that he was getting into this. And he was a rebel, like the name of one of his movies, and he was going to do what he wanted to do. And the more that the studio executive said, "Don't be engaging in this risky behavior," the more he wanted to do it, and that he was just literally hell bent on doing that.
Drew,
And
Drew, I forgot to have you tell the viewers how you got involved with this and the show that you were going to be on. Can you tell them about that?
Which one?
The motor.
About James Dean?
Yeah, Motor Trends.
Oh yeah, that one. I was on an episode of Motor Trend TV, which is called Autobiography, and the one I did was about Yuba County 5.
Oh.
Because they were doing something that involved cars. Of course, that involved Jack Madruga's 1969 Mercury Montego. And but they had also done an episode. I had nothing to do with the other episode. I did obviously the one with Yuba County 5, but the other one they had done one on James Dean's car. They did cover that in an episode of Autobiography, what the car we're talking about. And I'm not sure what their conclusions were, and I still need to watch that whole episode. But they did cover it. But mine wasn't that show. It was different.
Oh, okay. I thought you were
same show, but different.
Okay.
Different car.
All right, go ahead. Continue, please. I'm sorry.
So anyway, he's into racing. He had a particular a Porsche at the time, and he sold that for a faster one. It was a 550 Porsche 550 Spyder, and James Dean nicknamed that car "Little Bastard," famously so. And he was driving. He had his mechanic with him. He had a mechanic that used to work at Porsche, and James Dean hired him to just work on his cars for auto racing. And they had another guy following them, and they're in the San Joaquin Valley area driving down a road, and they have basically a spotter behind them. So James Dean is driving this pretty new Porsche 550 Spyder to break it in. He's giving it for road miles so they can take it to start racing it on a track, but it needed to be broken in, needed what they call road miles or something like that. So they had a spotter and a station wagon, and Dean was riding with his mechanic, and they were going down some of these more rural roads in the mountain type areas, and it's not really sure how fast he was going, but he some say as fast as 85 miles an hour. It was a very fast car. It was a light, small car. It was made of aluminum, so you can imagine how light it was, but very, very fast. And he was traveling on, I think it was called Route 46, and a guy named Donald Turnipseed was his name, was a college student at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, was going home to Tulare, California, where he lived, and he was pulling out onto a road and didn't see James Dean's Porsche coming. It was just so low profile, he just didn't see it. And Donald Turnipseed pulls out into the road and hits James Dean's Porsche on the driver's side of his Porsche, and it sends the Porsche. I think it was. They said it flipped. They flipped into the air. James Dean's mechanic, his body just literally flew out of the car. He survived, but James Dean's immediately broke his neck. His head was caved in, his chest was caved in. It was really bad. He wasn't killed instantly. He was still alive. He still had a pulse when the paramedics and stuff arrived. From what I know, it was pretty fast, but the Donald Turpinseed was able to get out of his car. He wasn't hurt that bad. He was in a 1954 Tudor, kind of what they would call a jalopy back in the day, and it was a lot heavier car than James Dean's car. And it was never determined who was at fault. Some people think it was Turnipseed's fault for pulling out on the road and hitting James Dean, and then others thought, well, James Dean was driving too fast, and it's still up for debate. But nothing happened to Turnipseed as far as being prosecuted or anything for that accident. But they got James Dean to the hospital, and I think he was probably dead on arrival. From the injuries were just too severe. I think there's one account that Turnipseed actually rode in the ambulance with James Dean, which is kind of wild. But that's how James Dean died in that Porsche. So the story goes from there. This car was just plain haunted. British actor Alec Guinness, who later became famous playing the character Obi-Wan Kenobi in the Star Wars films, knew James Dean. He was a friend of his back in the day, and he wrote in his diary later, he said he recalls seeing the car, the little bastard, and he said this is what his exact quote from Alec Guinness. He said, "The sports car looked sinister to me, exhausted, hungry, feeling a little ill-tempered in spite of Dean's kindness. I heard myself saying in a voice I could hardly recognize as my own, please never get in it. If you get in that car, you will be found dead in it by this time next week. And that's what Alec Guinness wrote in his diary. So I don't know if he actually told James Dean that, or he just thought it to himself, this voice that came over to Alec Guinness. But that's what he wrote in his diary, that when he saw that car, he felt that it was evil. And he knew to himself, I guess, reflecting on it, that James Dean got back in that car, he was going to be killed. And sure enough, he did. He died in that very car that Alec Guinness saw. So that was just one of the foreshadowing things that happened leading up to James Dean's death in that car. And interesting enough, that James Dean had also done a public service announcement about reckless driving. And he said, I'm looking for that exact quote, I had it somewhere, but it's, he was basically said something like, I don't have it, but I thought I had it. He said something like, please drive carefully because the life you saved just might be mine. I'm paraphrasing, but that's basically the quote that James Dean said, and that was aired not too far before he died in that car. That public service announcement, the life, please drive carefully, like you say, might just be mine. Apparently, Donald Turnipseed did not get that PSA message because he wound up being the guy that hit James Dean and killed him. So that's where the whole thing starts, with James Dean getting killed in that Porsche Spyder. So later, the car's a mangled mess. There's not a whole lot left of it, and a doctor named Dr. William Esrich bought the Porsche from a salvage yard in Burbank, California, outside of Los Angeles, and he bought it to strip it for parts because it was a pretty rare car, and even the parts were very valuable. So this doctor was also a race car driver in his spare time. He was a doctor, by profession, but he also liked to race cars at some of the same tracks that James Dean liked to race at. So he got the engine out of the wreckage and managed to install it in a race car that he owned. It was a Lotus race car. And then he got the transmission out somehow, and he had got certain parts off the transmission from James Dean's wreck car, and he gave them to another doctor named Dr. Troy McHenry. And not too far long after that, Dr. Esrich crashed the Lotus in 1956. So this is about 6 or 7 months after James Dean totaled it. But,
11 months.
Esrich crashed his Lotus in 1956 at the Pomona sports car races with the parts from James Dean Porsche in it, and he survived. But McHenry, who had some parts from the same car that were given to him by Dr. Esrich, hit a tree and was killed in that same exact race. So now you have two people connected to that car that were killed in less than, I think, 7 months from James Dean in that car, and then Dr. McHenry, who had parts from James Dean's car, was killed in a race. So that's where the whole legend starts, with the car Little Bastard being haunted and cursed. So a short time later, a guy named George Barris, he was the self-proclaimed king of customs. He was all into cars. He bought the remaining parts of the remaining body of James Dean's Porsche Spyder, and he was going to rebuild it. That was his goal. He said, I can rebuild anything. I'm this car guru. I'm going to rebuild it. But he realized after getting that mangled aluminum frame that it was just too far beyond repair. And so what happened was that Barris loaned it to the Los Angeles chapter of the National Safety Council. So they would literally mount it. I think you might have that picture.
Yeah, I'm showing it. I
can't see when you have it.
Yeah, I'm showing it.
And that's what the LA chapter of the National Safety Council would put up, and it literally toured that mangled chassis of the car. The aluminum chassis would tour around, and it said, "This is James Dean's car." It says, "Don't drive recklessly. This is what can happen to you. You can get killed like this famous actor struck down in the prime of his life." So it went to car shows, movie theaters outside. It went to bowling alleys where you could see this car. And it actually, I think in one account, that it fell off the wall and it hurt a bystander pretty severely. They had it mounted to like this display, and it fell off, and it hurt somebody that was just looking at it, just a member of the public, and hurt the guy pretty bad. Two of the tires that came off the car were given to somebody else that used the tires, and reported that the tires blew out at the same time. I didn't kill that person, but it was really bad stuff. Everything connected to that car was just literally cursed, and everything that touched it. So To this day, they don't really know what happened to the car. It was on a boxcar somewhere, but now it's just apparently been lost. I saw one account of somebody that claims no, the car wasn't lost. It was destroyed. It's still up in the air, and there's a lot of crazy misreporting about all this stuff. But those are basically the facts. But to this day, they don't know where the car is, or what's left of it. So it's just one of those really weird things of a haunted item.
I just want. Can I add a little something?
Definitely.
Okay. As it said, in fact, there is only one part that still remained confirmed. Hold on.
I think it's the transaxle.
Yes, it's the transaxle. And
that's sold. Yeah, that part survived, and I think it sold for like an incredible amount of money because it was easy to identify to the car, so there wasn't any. This came from another one. They knew for sure that it came from James Dean's car, and there's all the mystique surrounding it. So I saw one account where it sold a long time ago for like $150,000.
Oh,
and then I saw another estimate that was higher than that. So I'm not real sure, but it sold for a lot of money to a collector.
Wow, that's crazy. I would love to find out. I would love to find out about this car and why it brought so much destruction to anybody that owned it. I mean, what could that possibly be, Drew? Why such bad luck?
I don't know, but it's horribly cursed. I mean, it probably didn't have good beginnings when you named it Little Bastard. But if you dig into James Dean's life, there was a lot of weird stuff going on. I mean, he kind of had a rough life. His mother died of cancer when he was really young. He was 9 years old. I believe she had ovarian cancer and had a pretty tragic death and left a big hole in his life. And he wound up being raised by his aunt in rural Indiana on a farm. And his father, he was estranged from his father. And when James Dean was young, he had an accident. He was on a trapeze, like something you'd see at the circus, and he was messing around with it. And he knocked out his two front teeth, completely knocked them out. And his father was like a dental a guy. He wasn't a dentist, but I think he made like things for like dental offices. And his father made him two false front teeth. And James Dean had, I don't know if he ever got them switched out when he became famous or not, but his two front teeth were fake from that accident. A lot of people said that he just got hurt on a motorcycle because he obviously loved speed, but no, it was a bizarre trapeze accident where he fell and knocked out his teeth. But his mother's death at such a, when he was so young, really affected him. And something I read here was that it says, Dean's ability to act was not inherent, but was the result of occult powers that he sought after in order to influence society. Dean's aunt, remember, she raised him for the most part after his mother died, said Dean's aunt told of how even as a young man he had contact with spirit entities. She said that he would have conversations with the tree, and when questioned if the tree talked back, he would say, he wasn't talking to the tree or the roots. He said, laughing. I said, well, then who are you talking to? And Dean said, she said that he just looked at me with a clean face and said, my mother. Oh. He was talking to his deceased mother.
Oh my God, I never heard that. He was
trying to communicate with her in the spiritual world.
Wow.
And one of James Dean's friends was James DeWeird. I don't know how to pronounce that. It's W-E-E-R-D because it is weird. A personal friend of James Dean said he believed the ghost of his dead mother came to him. So this is apparently true. If you do really dig into his biography and what people know about him, he definitely longed for his dead mother and would communicate with her in death. This said Dean actively sought out spirits and spirit guides to help forge his path to success. Belinda Roth, another personal friend, recalls a time when Dean wanted to get in touch with dead actress named Sarah Bernhardt. Roth says there was a hotel in Venice, California, where Sarah Bernhardt had stayed when she came here to perform. James Dean, of course, was thrilled. He said, let's go to the hotel. So we go in, and it's a Fleabag hotel, a transient hotel. And no one there had heard of Sarah Bernhardt except for one old guy who said, oh, yeah, I remember that French actress. And we said, do you remember the room? And he said, yeah, I'll take you up there. He took us up there to this really horrible room. And so I guess in its day it was elegant. And Jimmy said, you go out of the room. I want to be here alone. I want Sarah Bernhardt to come to me. And he said he laid on the bed where she had slept, and he really felt that he had made contact with Sarah Bernhardt, who was, of course, deceased. So there's a nice tie into my story. James Dean laid on that hotel bed wanting to make contact with this dead actress that he was kind of obsessed with, that liked his stuff. So he was definitely into the spiritual world.
Oh my God. Did you happen to read anywhere where he had a premonition he would die young?
I don't remember that.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember that. I mean, other than the Alec Guinness thing, I don't remember where he ever said that.
Okay. Wow, good catch. I didn't read that. Of course, I don't do the research that you do, Drew. That's what's so awesome about you. You're a fabulous researcher. That's weird. That case is really
weird.
Oh.
I think it had something to do with him being into the spiritual realm, and naming the car that, and being, connected to the car. It's just really, really weird.
Yeah. I would love to know if a psychic could really find out what happened to that car, and
where it is.
Yeah, exactly.
If it's still, somebody offered $1 million for it if someone could find it. I don't know if it's a collector or who the person was, but he put up, that had easily could prove he had the money for it. So said $1 million flat if you could find the car.
Wow, that's crazy.
He paid for it.
That's really crazy. Well, that was a good show. I really enjoyed that. Drew, thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing that story with you. Hopefully we can get an answer for you. I'm really searching and hoping the right psychic will come around to tell you what they really think happened to you, because I think we all want to know, and especially the spider. Drew, thanks. That was anything else you want to say?
No, thanks for having me on. It was a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll let you know if my luck changes or what happens tomorrow.
Yeah, send me a message tomorrow.
I'm worried about it because now I don't know which is bitch. I mean, it has not been turned upside down in years. Because I guess I thought everything was going pretty well. So.
Well,
I don't know. Maybe something bad's going to happen.
Well, at least the computer didn't go down. That's one good thing. Thank you.
Yeah, now I have to remember the computer doesn't go down. Which side was up?
Oh, thanks, Drew. So I'll be in touch with you. We have a show. So do you still want to do that show on DB Cooper?
DB Cooper, yeah. My buddy is Darren Schaefer of the Cooper Vortex, and he knows the case really well. Obviously, I know it really well, so he makes a great guest. He's just... he's a younger guy, which I love about it. He's keeping that case alive for future generations, and he's done a really good job of collecting stories from authors that wrote about D.B. Cooper and knows all things D.B. Cooper.
Okay, we'll be doing that on April 21st. And anything else, are you writing any other books, any other paranormal books?
I'm trying to figure out what I want to do. I'm not real sure. Definitely would love to do some more paranormal stuff.
I hope you do another.
I don't know if it'd be UFO related or not. I had one good, I had one good ghost experience. Obviously the bed story, and then one good UFO experience. So I'm lucky that I've had one of each.
What's your UFO experience?
I saw a UFO. It was really amazing. It was in Houston. It was like in a populated part of Houston, which is weird. So it's some rural whatever. And it was also not too far from the time that the bed thing was going on. It was probably 91, 90, somewhere in there when all the weird stuff was happening. But I saw a triangle craft sitting up in a cloud bank. And I was with a friend that I mentioned earlier, not George, but another one that owned that auto shop where he lived. He had a townhouse, and another girl that we knew, and it was just the three of us, and we saw this giant craft. It was literally a V, like you see these triangle-shaped ones on the internet a lot. That's what it was. It was sitting in a cloud bank. It was massive, and there was these little lights that were coming out of it. They were chasing each other, and we all three sat there just watching it, in amazement. And like I said, it wasn't this rural part of town or anything like that. It was a fairly populated part of the city, and I was just stunned that no one else called to report it or anything, because it was a massive, massive craft sitting in a cloud bank, and just got dimmer and dimmer and dimmer. But we watched this thing go on for like 20 minutes. It was amazing.
Wow. Well, that one must have been pretty low for you to see such a good angle of it.
It was low. It was really low-lying clouds, and it was just sitting in the cloud bank. And then this huge triangle lit up. You could see how bright it was. And then the little balls that were chasing each other that came out of it shot back up into it. And then just got dimmer and dimmer and dimmer and went away. It was quite an experience, and this thing was huge. I don't know if it was one of ours or one of theirs, but it was something massive out there.
Hey, Drew, you know, I know we did a show on the Yuba City 5, which is absolutely the most fascinating case. Maybe we can include that car as well. I'm not sure if that car was cursed or not, or if there's anything connected to it. But I don't know how you found out about that case. But
Yuba County 5?
Yeah, I don't know how you found out about it. And
YouTube.
Oh, because your book.
Yeah.
I mean, and you go in such depth and research into your books. It's amazing. Is there any other cases out there like that?
You know, I've never. I'm hard pressed to find one like Yuba County 5. It's you know, there's some other ones that interest me. Some of the missing persons cases, some of the one-offs. Brian Schaefer, the college student that went missing in a bar. I mean, literally went missing in a bar, never seen again. I mean, you know, that was a really bizarre case. I like, you know, certain individual missing persons cases like that. A guy named Terrence Woods that went missing, filming a TV show of Gold Rush. Dave Turns lost his mind. He was a production assistant. He just went crazy and ran off into the woods. Never seen again. Never seen or heard from again. You know, it's kind of, you know, David Politis missing 411 type stuff. But those individual cases I like a lot. But you know, there's a case in Canada called I think it's called the Pickering Five, where these 5 boys were out on St. Patrick's Day and they went missing. It was kind of a little bit like Hewitt County 5, but not as, you know, not all the really crazy weird stuff. But they got into these boats and went out into this massive lake, and none of these 5 guys have ever been seen again. I think it's called the Pickering Five. That one interests me a lot.
Oh, why don't you do that one? That sounds fabulous.
Yeah, it's definitely worth a show. I don't know if it's a whole book or not, because they have not found nothing with these guys. I mean, we found 4 of the 5 Yuba County 5 guys, the remains, and they never found one of these boys. I think it's called that. I think it goes by the Lost Boys of Pickering or something like that. But that's an interesting case, because they've never found one of these guys. They don't know if they all drowned, or, you know, they should have come up to the top. One of the boats they took was never found. Just really pretty wild case.
Let's do a show on that. You know what? Let's do a couple of cases.
Lost Boys of Pickering or something.
Well, there's another one. Somebody sent me a message, an email, and they wanted to know what are happening to college students that go into a bar.
Oh, yeah.
And then
Smiley Face Killers.
Oh, that's the name. That's what I thought it was.
Smiley Face Killers. Yeah.
Is that still happening?
Well, they attribute a lot of that to possibly the Smiley Face Killer, where these that you know, Brian Schaefer, the guy I mentioned, you know, went missing from a bar, and you know, there's a lot of water nearby. But the Smiley Face Killer is where, you know, somebody will be at a bar, they're intoxicated or something like that, and they wound up, they find their bodies later in water, and they're murdered somehow, but they can't figure out how. And they always find these bodies in water, and then sometimes people said they started seeing smiley faces painted nearby where the bodies were found. That's where the whole concept of the Smiley Face Killers come from, which is really interesting. I think there's a couple books on it.
Okay.
And, you know, the police don't really believe in that theory. They just think it's kind of a coincidence that these smiley faces pop up. It's just kind of random.
I did a show with Vanessa Hogel. She's a remote viewer psychic. And I on one of our shows, I asked her about the smiley faces. I'm going to have to dig that up and edit it out. And I'll send you a clip of what she said about that. I did so many.
It's fascinating.
Yeah. Let's do some of those cases. Would you do them with me?
Yeah, definitely. And then I think it's people. I think they ran a request to Delphi. what was another case that the people were bringing up? They wanted to know more about. I know you did something on Delphi not too long ago.
Oh yeah.
With the psychic.
Yeah, I did it with the psychic, and I'm waiting to find out. She said it was a father and a son that were involved.
Oh wow. Yeah, I think there's a father and son suspect. I know that case, but not like I'm definitely not an expert at it. I know the police are withholding a lot of evidence that they have. So if they find the killer, they'll be able to prosecute them. So I know they know a lot more than they can release. So
yeah.
I'd love to see that get solved any way it can happen.
Oh my God, yes. And don't forget, there's a lot of information they haven't released either. So there's a lot of stuff. Well, I'm really excited. So, because I really like true crime, and it's really a shame that you can't find a psychic. These psychics do not want to do anything involved with crimes or serial killers or death. They just don't want to do it. You can't. How many I've reached out to and they don't.
I don't know.
Oh my God! They just don't want to do it.
If I had those abilities, I would be using it to try to find people.
Oh, I know. I love it.
A remote view. I know that's been talked about a lot. I know my friend's a remote viewer. I want to see if she can do a couple of them.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, I'll keep searching, but it's really hard to find someone. But I did find that one psychic. She will do shows, but they can't be, like I said, anything really negative. And she will read photographs. So that would be fun. So maybe I can get a couple good shows, that would be fun. Okay, so Drew, thanks so much. I want to thank you so much. I hope you get a new computer soon so you can start putting out more shows.
Definitely. I need one of the Yuba County 5 families, the Hewitts. Jackie Hewitt was one of the Yuba County 5 members. That was unfortunately killed when he went missing, but his brother and his sister-in-law reached out to me, and we talked on the phone for a long, long time. And I talked to another one of their family members before doing the book, but I hadn't talked to them before until recently. So I talked to them for probably maybe 2 hours on the phone, which was great. And they want to come on and do something.
Oh God, that would be. Oh, I hope you do. Please.
Yeah, they know a lot. Because his brother was there. I think his brother was 18 years old. Jackie was 24, so he remembers their father searching for him every day. So it's really tragic, but lots of good insight.
Oh yeah. Do they? I don't want to. I don't want to ask you because I will watch the show. Because I'm sure you'll get information that you will post, and I don't want to ask you. So that's your thing. And let me know, because I definitely want to see that show, and I'll post and make sure everybody gets the information so they can watch that, because that is a fabulous case.
I'll do that hopefully pretty soon.
Oh yeah, let me know. Okay, honey. Well, thank you so much. I love having you on the show. I love airing shows with you. You're so knowledgeable. You're such a wonderful researcher, Drew. You really are. So I guess I'll talk to you on the 21st then.
Okay, sounds great.
Okay, and invite your friend to come on the show. Oh,
absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. Oh! I also asked the psychic about Amelia Earhart.
Mm-hmm.
She will do Amelia Earhart.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay. All right. So.
Love that case.
Oh, yeah. All right. I'll talk to us. Well, I'll talk to you before, but I will definitely see you on the 21st on air. Okay.
Okay. Sounds great.
Thanks, Drew. Thank you so much. Good night. Say good night.
Good
night. Oh, God, Drew is so awesome. Oh, I hope you enjoyed the show. I did. It's really a shame. A psychic bringing their, what they pick up intuitively or remotely, I think it adds so much to a case when you're talking about it. And it's just so hard to find anyone to do it. I have been searching and searching and searching and searching, and they just don't want to do negativity. Even the one I spoke to today, but we are going to do a show called Manifesting. which is really interesting. It's quite a popular topic on YouTube. So she will do shows called Manifesting, a couple other things as well. All right, so guys, thank you all for being here. I'm sorry for the inconvenience. I'm hoping I don't have any more issues with it's the power supply. My techie said it had something to do with the power supply. The computer wasn't getting the juice, and he may have to change something out on my computer. Thank God I have one. So everybody, thank you so much for being here. I so appreciate it. I love seeing you in the chat every week, and thanks to my mods, Renee and Chipateri. Without them, we would not have the fabulous chat room that we have and the great chatters that we have. It's just wonderful to see you here every time I have a live show. I really appreciate it. You're a great group. Big hugs to everybody. Please keep your prayers and negative and positive thoughts to my mods, and to also Tall Cross, who's still recovering. We're just rooting for you, Tall Cross, to get back to normal. Get back to normal, honey. And anybody else, all positive thoughts for everybody in the chat room as well. So let me do some shout outs. Oh, let's see. The next show is March 31st, Dave Spinks, and it's on the legends of Dogman. And also, he will include, since Dave lives in West Virginia, there is a West Virginia Dogman, and he has, I believe, written a book or a section in his book on the Virginia Dogman, but he will also talk about the legend of Dogman and the other sightings, okay? So that should be a good show too. Again, thank you so much for being here. Let me do some shout outs. And the super chat, thank you so much, Tall Cross. Bless your heart. And for Chris, let me see. It was Christopher Chris? Oh, gosh, I saw that. Let me see if it's in my, hold on for a minute. I think it was Christopher Chris. Let me see. Yeah, Christopher, thank you so much. That's really sweet of you guys. Thank you so much. Really, really nice of you. And I'm glad you liked the show. I did get an email from a viewer. And unfortunately, the information that she is asking for, I don't have a psychic that I can get the information from. And Angela doesn't want to do true crime anymore. So I don't know what she wants to do, but no more true crime. And it's a shame because she is so good at it. She's so good. Okay, so let me do some shout outs. Renee McDowell, our mod. Sobek, Lord of the Four Corners. Chipateri, our mod. Lori Miller. Robert Hanna. Thanks, guys. Raymond Duncan. Justin Michaels, Mr. JSV650, Lisa Scarrett, Tall Cross, Punjai Fungi. Hey, I haven't seen you in a long time. Oh, Chessboard Killer. I've heard of that. Yeah, I'll do some. I'll do some cases with Drew because he's like I said, he's fabulous. Fabulous researcher. I really envy him. Nice to see you guys. Christopher Chris, Thayer, thank you. Tammy Heitzman, J.D. Bambara, Lori Miller, Dust Bunny. Anybody else? So let's see. They don't know what's coming. That's why they don't want to do those type of readings. Well, I would think that a psychic would be careful of what they say. I know I know Angela Thomas did, because there were some things that she couldn't say, and she knew when not to say it. But I wish I was a psychic. I'd be doing this. I would really be getting involved in these shows. Okay, everybody's starting to leave now. If there's anybody that wants a shout out, thank you all. Chipeteri, Christopher, Chris, Fungi, Tallcross, Lisa Scarrett, all of you, Lori Miller, Justin Michaels. I really appreciate you guys being here. And if you are new and you're just watching, Dust Bunny, Thayer, please subscribe to my channel. You know, I did the statistics on my channel, and like 90% of non-subscribers watch my shows, and only like 20% or so subscribe. I'm really happy that they watch the shows. You know, it gives me nice numbers on my videos, but gee, I wish you guys would subscribe. That would really be awesome. If you subscribe, you should be getting notified when I go live. Soon, I think in May, I might have to slow down. My sister's having a house built on our property. She'll be right next door to me, and she's going to need help. Not building it, but preparing her house for sale, helping her paint and getting things out, and then getting them moved down here. So I may have a little slowdown, either end of April or May, okay? So anyway, everybody, thank you so much. Again, group hug. I love you guys. I appreciate so much you coming when I have the shows, and I'll try and keep up with some good topics. Not as all the ones I'd love to do, but I will still try and bring you good topics. And like I said, my absolute favorite is true crime and unsolved mysteries and missing people. I may not be able to have a psychic, but I will present those cases to you, okay? So don't forget, you can always email me, ParanormalZoneTV@gmail.com. Any suggestions, if you know any psychic that wants to come on the show and do shows with me, just let me know. Any cursed out, anything you want to be for me to do on the show, just email me and let me know, okay? I appreciate it. And guys, have a great weekend. Be safe out there. Love you guys, and thank you so much as always for being on my in the chat room. Thank you. I love you guys. Thank you so much. Good night. Thank you.